Well, it is straight up 11 o'clock Central Time here in Hot Springs, Arkansas on a beautiful Monday morning. My name is John Terry, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Vision Advisors. And on behalf of all of you that are joining us, we want to say welcome. We are so glad that you are with us. This is going to be a very exciting week. I was talking with our staff, and we were trying to think what is something unique and different that we can do as an organization to make a difference and to really say thank you to a group of individuals that are out there often underappreciated, underserved, sometimes ignored in what is typically a male dominated industry or has been for a number of years. And was very excited when one of our team members, matter of fact, she will be one of our speakers, Kathy Gumbiner, that we'll be sharing later on, brought up the idea of putting together and doing a women's summit, saying thank you to the amazing men and men that support this industry, but more importantly, the women that have really come to the forefront. Unique in the office, I'm the only guy in the office, so I am surrounded by estrogen all day long. When I go home at the end of the day, I've got 6 kids, three boys, 3 girls. The boys are gone. I'm left at home with a bunch of girls at the house. My only saving grace is I have a German Shepherd that's a male dog, and he and I bonded because we're the only 2 guys in the loop. And but we love our ladies. I've got an amazing family, and some of you that know my family know that I've got some very talented folks. My beautiful wife from Costa Rica is an incredible seamstress and has a heart and a passion for people. She travels and has worked with women that have been rescued from the sex slave trade industry. And she travels to Costa Rica to teach them a skill set so they don't feel like they have to return to prostitution or some other endeavor. My 21-year-old daughter, Jessie, has traveled to Cameroon to teach leadership in Cameroon, to work with mothers with special needs children, and has helped work with an organization. And we helped them start the very first special needs school in the country of Cameroon. So being engaged in empowering women is something extremely important to us, and so excited that you guys are going to be with us for the next 5 days as you have an opportunity to hear from some very powerful women yourself that have overcome adversity in their lives, that have made a difference, that have built a brand that is shaping how women in the marketplace are growing and expanding their opportunity. Our very first speaker that's going to be coming to us today is Miss Katherine Dean. Katherine Dean has an MBA, and I love it. She's a mompreneur. I love that phrase. Matter of fact, I'm in a strategic mastermind group with a group of digital marketing gurus, and one of the ladies on there is from Germany, and she works with mompreneurs in the UK, helping them balance work and life. So I love the idea of mompreneurs. So Miss Katherine is a mompreneur and a dog lover. Hey, there's something else good we've got in common there. And is known as the empowerment woman. I am so excited to hear you today, Katherine. With over 20 years working with individuals, couples, business owners, and entrepreneurs, helping them achieve their goals. She founded Living Your Worth, Inc., and guides clients to discover their authentic power archetype and negotiate for success. They have an opportunity to step into their worth, achieve peace of mind, and do that with security, being able to own their worth and ignite their wealthy dream life. Now, who doesn't want that, to have a wealthy dream life, so that if you've got money, you can do all the things that not having money won't let you do? Her belief is that anyone with the right tools can build their incredible future, love their career, and be authentically powerful and create the life of their dreams. Katherine is a mentor, a dream igniter, national speaker, and creator of the Wealth to Freedom Formula program, the Wealthy Woman Within, and the Wealthy Woman Within Club. She sits on the board of Girls Inc. Long Island and volunteers as a Girl Scout leader. Her website is KatherineDeanBrands.com. Katherine, so glad to have you here. If you'll unmute your mic, we're just looking forward to hearing what you have to share with our audience today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, John. I appreciate you guys putting this together. This is incredible. And we just came off March, right? Which was a Women's History Month. And when you said this was happening in April, I was like, oh my goodness, I get to continue on my journey, right? And
Absolutely.
talk to and connect with so many amazing women. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. Should I just go ahead and share my
You
screen?
can share your screen however you want to proceed. You've got the
Okay,
floor for about the
cool.
next
Cool.
45 minutes. So thank you. Let me make
Okay,
sure
awesome.
let me set this up so you can share your screen and you should be good to go.
Okay, and I'm gonna go into I'm gonna play my slides show here. Okay, everybody good? We can see it. We're good, John?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, terrific. Well, thank you everybody for joining us this afternoon, or I'm in New York, so for me, it just turned this afternoon. And I'm super excited and extremely grateful to have this platform today because this has been a mission that, and I'll share a little bit about my story that literally kind of was an aha moment for me. And I'll go through that a little bit. But what the wealthy woman within is, and why I kind of coined that phrase and really share that, is when we're not aligned internally with who we are, what we want, and where we want to be going, then we show up in our lives and we're kind of off kilter. And being a mom, being an entrepreneur, owning several businesses, I know what it's like to not feel aligned when something is a little off. And it's through my own experience and my own story and being in the financial conversation for over 20 years that I realized I wasn't showing up in the way that I wanted to show up after a very long, um, and I know that John, you highlighted this a little bit, but a very long career in a very male dominated industry, right? And it wasn't because of the men, it was because of my own insecurities and my own lack of confidence and thinking I needed 25 degrees to actually step into my worth. So I'm going to share with you some tips and tools, a lot which you've heard already, and you've probably read about or you've heard about it. But I'm hoping today that you hear it in a little bit different light because I'm going to share it along with my story, and I'm going to also share stories of clients that I've worked with. So my hope is that you walk away from this program this entire week and you can start creating the life that you want. You can love it and really embrace your power, and you can live this most authentic, beautiful, wealthy dream life that you've always thought, how do I get there? And I'm not sure how to get there because that was me. I didn't know how to create that for myself. And a little bit about me. So John beautifully introduced me, but let me talk. What was my aha moment was in May. It was 2 days after Mother's Day. It was a Tuesday in May, and I was coming home. I had a 1 and a 3-year-old at home. My life was picture perfect. I had the white picket fence. I had the golden retriever, as you can see here. I had a decent job. I lived in the happiest town in America. You know, my life was going really well. And I came home, and my ex she wasn't my ex at the time, but my spouse said to me, "We need a break." And honestly, I financially fell on my rear end. We lived in a household that needed 2 incomes to pay for our house. We lived in a very expensive area. I live on Long Island in New York, which taxes, $10,000 is like a joke when people talk about taxes. It's like we're well over $10,000. And I wasn't going to make ends meet. And now here I was finding myself a single mom. I had a 1 and 3-year-old at home. I had a career life, and it wasn't working. Life was not working. And not to mention that if anybody that's listening to this has ever gone through a divorce or gone through an excruciating breakup, you feel like the biggest failure in your life and you don't know where to turn. And I was in the industry and didn't understand financially how to get my act together because my emotions were so far in my way of actually seeing like the action steps I needed to take that I was really in a dark place and I needed to smile every day for my kids, right? So this is where it kind of dawned on me that I wasn't showing up in the world the way I wanted to or the way that I wanted my children to grow up in. And I wanted to be this influence for my girls that they could know that they could be the superhero of their own journey, right? So um a little bit later on down the road in about 2015, it was actually November 2015, I am happily remarried. I have 2 dogs. That is Miss Hazel May on my top right. She's actually 7 months. She's got a personality. So we got lots of female vibes. Roscoe's my bottom left. He is a rescue and he is the only male influence in the house for, John and him could probably have some stories if he spoke. And those are my 2 beautiful young daughters who are now 12 and 14 and thriving. So if I were to identify me, like myself as a person, and we often get lost in the mom world or the career world, I'd identify myself as a mom, wife, dog mom, entrepreneur, certified financial planner, running Opal Women's Division, creating it and creating something that was really a passion of mine because I wanted other female advisors to have a safe space to be able to build a business. A CEO, I'm an advocate for the things that I believe in. I'm a network marketer, executive. I'm a real estate I own real estate. And not, this isn't a gloating thing. This is what I came from, knowing not where my future was going to head in 2010, and coming and having goals and actions. And I'm going to share those goals and actions along the way, because I truly believe that residual and passive income, for number one, just gives you peace of mind, right? And unfortunately, so many divorces in the United States occur because of financial disagreements and not being on the same page financially. And number two, I truly believe that you can create and any type of future that you want for yourself, no matter where you are right now. So that's super important to understand. Is you're probably listening to this and like, oh great, she has this and she has that and education and all that kind of stuff. But what I really, really want to drive home is that no matter where you're at today, and remember, like, this industry is not necessarily always the easiest industry to create an income and a lifetime income from. And these are tools and tips, not just for the industry, but just for life, that I'm going to be sharing with you going forward. So, number one, and we've all heard this, right, is your why. What is your why? And for me, in that defining moment, that Tuesday in May of 2010, I discovered my why. It was so that I financially didn't have the rug ripped out from underneath me, and that I taught other women how to never have the financial rug ripped out from underneath them. Now, I do it through multiple platforms and I do it through multiple ways, but I needed to understand my why, because I was kind of like that beacon right there that's in front of us, that lighthouse. I was kind of circling the lighthouse. I didn't really know where my desk, I was kind of just having a job to have a job and earn an income. I wasn't passionate about what I was doing at the time. I was, I would come home, I kind of felt numb. I was walking around in the world like a zombie. I don't know if this resonates with anybody, but that little light that's inside of all of us was not, it was very dim, and it wasn't shining and it wasn't showing up. And it took development and it took a lot of things to get there. But I knew what my why was. It was about 3 months after I was a single mom. I knew what my why was, because I was in such a state and thought I knew what I was doing financially. I was in such a state, I couldn't even imagine somebody who doesn't have the tools and the resources and the support system around them in the industry to be able to create a new life after divorce, right? So it wasn't just to work with divorced women, it was work with all women to create financial freedom in their lives. And how does that work? Because there's so many ways that we can do that, right? So so then it came down to, I started Googling like statistics and what really are the statistics in the world and in the United States. And let's start small. I figured, like, let's start with my friend group and get them on track. And to come to find out that 60% of Americans are unprepared for $1,000 expense. Like, that's new tires and maybe a fan belt change and oil change on a car. And when I started thinking about that, I thought, oh my goodness, like, you could need something done with your tooth, and that's $1,000 if you don't have insurance or more. How can we start to share the knowledge and be out there in the world and understand that my why for a very long time was this small, and this small of how much impact I could make in the world. And through knowledge and trying to figure it out, my why has now become, in 2015, while being at a mastermind and sitting down and really connecting with my why, it was, I need to work with or teach or be out there as a voice for 1 million women to create financial independence in their life. And the trickle effect of that is that it's not just women speak to women, women share with other women. And this is a beauty of even this event, right? This event that's happening this entire week is this empowerment summit. Is we share tools and tips and knowledge, and we want to empower other women to be their greatest selves. And if I can impact, even if my stone that I throw in the lake is this ripple effect through families and through communities and through women talking to women, and they share one tip or tool that I've shared, that creates an incredible ripple effect through the entire country, through the entire world. So that's why my number became 1 million women instead of I want to empower like the 5 people that are surrounding my life, right? So the first thing we all need to be super, super clear on is our money mindset. And through going through investigative work and through my own trials and tribulations and working with and financially coaching other women and being in masterminds and being the go-to for a lot of these conversations, I have found that women in particular really hold on to uh, money beliefs from when they're younger. And not only that, we think smaller than possibly we're able to achieve. I should say we definitely think smaller than we're able to achieve. That's hands down. And I would highly recommend, and this isn't me just, I don't want to just be preaching the whole time and sharing, but I've had a coach for the past 9 years of my life. I always have a coach. I'm in a mastermind group. I always pick people around me that aren't in my industry, but that see me bigger than I see myself. And if I can share that with you, and especially with your money mindset, right? I have a lot of people that come to me and they're like, Catherine, I just want to get to $50,000. That would solve the issue in our household. Or Catherine, I just want to be making 75,000. That would solve the issue. And when you start to uncover and lay back and like you peel back the onion, you start to realize that it's not actually the money they're making, it's the mindset around what's going on in the household with money, right? And getting into shifting that money mindset about, anybody on this call, including myself, could be making $1 million a year right now, right? Anybody. It's a matter of where do you see yourself in the future and what actions are you taking? And I'm going to really go through that in detail as we go through. And then we need to own our worth, right? Statistically, I know I'm sharing something that everybody knows, but women as a whole are still making 82 cents on the dollar. And if you own a business, usually we are undercharging compared to our competitors within the same area. We give away a lot for free, although sometimes that's not a bad thing, and I'll share that with you in a few minutes. And we definitely don't step into our greatest power. So a little bit about what happened to me was my undergrad was marine science. So I'm a marine biologist with my undergrad, but knew that I grew up in more of an entrepreneurial household. And being on a ship and being out at sea for 6 months out of the year was definitely never going to be what I wanted to be. I just thought, honestly, I wanted to play with animals, but then come to find out that's like the less than 1% of the industry does that. And I was really driven to start building my own businesses and possibly building and selling. And I didn't know what I was doing at the time. So I went and got my MBA. And between that and stepping into the financial services industry, those two things together really started to get my juices flowing. And what's beautiful about our industry, and I love to share this, is your clients really share a lot of the masterminding that you can start to learn from, right? So there would be people that, and even around me, it wasn't just my clients, it was other people's clients. It was sharing stories with like-minded people in the financial services industry. I started to hear stories and I thought, well, why can't I do all that kind of stuff, right? Why can't I be that person? And although I was holding myself back years ago, right? Because then I wanted a family, I had kids, I had to buy the house. I put my life on hold. And then what happened after I got divorced was, oh my God, like I'm not living the life that I knew I could create. And I know I could do X, Y, and Z. I just don't know how to get there. So I started deep diving into personal development, deep diving into like, what was my next step? Where was I going? How could I be in action? And I started asking questions because up until that point, I was in my early 30s when I got divorced and my kids were very young, right? Up until that point, I was too scared and intimidated to actually ask questions. I was holding on to thinking I knew some knowledge, but wasn't sure how to step into that. And then I started to be investigative and curious. So if I can share something with you about owning your worth and what it is that you want to create and be completely aligned in your life and show up for like this brilliant bulb that you know you were meant to be curious and start asking questions. And know that there are people want to help. People want to create that with you. They want to know that they've been a small part of your success story, right? So when you start to own your worth, that means that you start to step into confidence and you start to share differently and you start to think about the future differently. And all of that energy, and I'm big, and I don't know if I'm one of the only ones in this industry that really believe in energy and believe that your thoughts and your intentions create a different outcome. But all those people that you start to investigate and ask, they're willing to connect you with all the right people. And you might have to weed through some people because they might not be the right fit, and that's totally cool. But once you start to own your worth and that confidence, you get to step into that superhero you know you were meant to be. I like to call her Wonder Woman. So the confidence, right? Now, when I look at this picture and I look at the confidence, and now if you've watched the new Wonder Woman movies and you see how powerful, like I don't know about you, but I like with my girls on, we're jumping off the couch being all excited that, what she's creating and how she's slaying and getting through the day and being the superhero of her life, right? But this is who definitely I would say you need to be in your life to create the life that you want, right? Uh, Many times, and I'm guilty of this, I actually have a daily mantra that I say to myself in the morning so that I keep myself on track. As a mom and being of service to others, I sometimes tend to lose what's actually most important for my future. And as I'm a giver, right? That's just in my nature. That's who I am. So I tend to give a lot more than than I take care of myself. But when I show up confidently and when I show up as my superhero, then everything else falls into place. And you got to walk the walk. Okay. So I advocate for residual and passive income. I am a financial coach, I'm a certified financial planner. Like everything that I do, and I help women create residual and, side hustle. I help them create additional income in their lives. So if it's they want to pay off debt, or they want to go on vacation, or they want to create a six-figure income, like this is what I do. Now, 10 years ago or 11 years ago at this point, I wasn't walking the walk. I didn't, I'm lucky that I could actually see to get to my car to get to my job, my job, right? Like I was in a cloud of frustration and I was very lost. But I knew in my heart of hearts, and I don't know if anybody listening to this knows deep down inside of them what you want to offer to the world, what your gift is, what your passion is. And I started to walk the walk. And even though, and if you think back to 2008, the financial crisis and what happened in the housing crisis, I had bought an investment property that literally I was underwater in, and it was a complete failure. And then my marriage fell, and then everything, like my whole life was falling apart. But I knew deep down inside, I had a message to share with people. And through that, I needed to start walking the walk myself, right? I needed to show up confidently in my life. I needed to be my own superhero. I needed to walk the walk. Because if I couldn't walk the walk, how could I empower or work with other women and share with them what is possible in their lives? And we need, I don't know, the vision. Let's talk really, really in depth about a vision. Okay. So not only do you have to walk the walk, you actually have to visualize yourself getting there, right? So I could be walking and I could be walking down into a tunnel deep, deep down that's dark and gloomy, or I could be walking into light and joy and abundance and what's ahead of me and the things that I want to create. And for a long time, I was walking in that tunnel, right? I was there, I was frustrated. I was a victim of my life. There was no abundance. It was scarcity and stuff doesn't work out. And how long do I have to deal with this? And you can see how all those thought process can really pull you down. But then what happened was I started to do some mindset shifts and I started to think, what do I want for my future? We don't ask ourselves that enough. We don't ask ourselves, what do we want for the future? Where are we going? What do we want to create? That's the beauty of life, is no matter what like where we fail, what derails us. And now remember, it's not an A to a B line. Over the past 11 years of my life, there have been a lot of zigzags along there. There have been a lot of highs, there's been a lot of lows, there's been a lot of pivoting, there's been a lot of, okay, I get you, universe. I will redirect myself and go this way. And so we need to have a crystal clear vision, because when you go from A to B and you get derailed, that vision is what's going to pull you through to get to your goals. And always think bigger, right? So what is the vision that you want for your life? What is the vision you want for your career? What is the vision you want for your family? There's so many different aspects here, right? What is what is the legacy you want to leave for your kids? If you have kids, what is the legacy you want to leave here on earth, right? So that's where, when I'm saying crystal clear vision, I mean, like, if you had somebody, I'm not a great drawer. My daughter's great at drawing. I'm not great. But if you had somebody, if you could close your eyes and somebody could draw your vision, and you opened your eyes and they drew your vision in front of you, you were like, yes, it's exactly my vision. That's what I mean by crystal clear. And I can't drive this home enough, because without vision and without knowing where your future is going, you're kind of just hoping it works out. You're hoping that you bust your hump over and over and over again, and you think you're doing the right action steps to create maybe the income that you want, or you think you're talking to the right people for the clients that you want, or possibly you're holding yourself back because you know you're powerful, but you're not quite sure where that's going to take you, right? Because we're all powerful. We all have a purpose. We all have somewhere to be going. We weren't put here for no reason, right? So think about where that vision is taking you. And if I can invite you, I know the call is 2 hours today, and maybe it's sometime tonight, maybe it's early in the morning. Jot it down for yourself and say, like, I need to know where I need to know where I'm going. Where is my vision taking me? And get crystal clear on what that looks like. And what I'm also going to share with you is miracles happen along the way, and your vision is going to shift as you go along your path, right? Initially, for me, way back when, was I just didn't want to lose my house. Okay. I needed to figure out how to get some supplemental income so I could pay my mortgage and my bills so that I had a roof over my children's head. That was it. That was all I was thinking about. Although it felt like a huge goal at the time, there was an ability to create that, because I knew like what my initial mini step goal was. And then as that happened, you start to gain confidence when things start to happen, and you start to create that, you get this confidence, and then you're like, okay, what's next? Like, life becomes exciting, and you get to share that with people, and you get to bring them along the way with you. That is the beauty of having a crystal clear vision. Okay. So we want to all so when I was trying to make sure that I kept my house, of which I'm sitting in today, and I don't know if everybody on here, I'm going to I'll say it. I have to say it. Real estate in my house right now is like at a premium. So it's location, location, location. So for me to have a quiet space today, when I have two kids online, and my spouse is a teacher and teaching on Zoom, and two dogs downstairs, it's challenging, right? Like, life is a little challenging right now, and that's okay. That's okay, because we make it work. And but I had to say that, because, we all are dealing with lots of stuff right now. And you're probably thinking, oh my goodness, she wants me to have this crystal clear vision. Like, I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to have my next meeting where it's quiet in my house, because that was me today, right? So I want to share that with you, because give yourself grace along the way as well, because I'm a true New Yorker. You're going to hear the New York accent in me. I might be a little outspoken, a little rough along the way, or a little tough with how I'm speaking, but also give yourself grace. And as well as, because we're going to talk about planning goals and making your plan, celebrate the small wins along the way. I'm a driver, so like I get here and I'm like, okay, what's next? And sometimes when I look back, I'm like, oh wow, but look at all the steps I had to take to get there. Because sometimes I'm going, things aren't working fast enough, they're not going fast enough. True entrepreneur spirit, like pressing on the gas 90 hours a day. Like, I don't know if there's other entrepreneurs on here that understand this, but you're always in go mode. And sometimes you need to actually take a step back to course correct yourself, which is why planning your goals are so important. So you have this big vision, right? But how are you going to get to that big vision? How are you going to get to that, what you would think is your end goal? And I don't think we ever arrive. I think we're always on course, and we're always expanding our bucket for what we can create. So remember, I just needed to not lose my house. So my bucket was about like here. And then once I figured that out, it was like, ooh, okay, so residual and passive income is a lot of fun. I get to make money while I'm sleeping. What is my next venture, or what can I be invested in, or whose business can I invest in where I get a K1 for profitability at the end of the year, and I'm not actually working my butt off for that income, right? So you need to get really really clear on your goals that are going to get you to that vision. So what I like to say is, okay, what is the big vision? What is your end goal? Right? So for me, initially, or my big goal 10 years ago, after I was able to afford the house, was $10,000 a month in residual income. Because I knew if I had $10,000 a month, like my life would, that'd be pretty easy. Like it would create an ease in my life that I would never have the financial rug ripped out from underneath me again. So I needed to figure out, okay, what are the things that are going to get me there? Is it going to be investment income? Is it going to be real estate? Is it going to be owning multiple businesses? Why I'm sharing this with you is because you can see how my mind started to go. It was like, how do I create that? How do I create that? How do I start to get momentum around that? So number one, plan your goals. Have that big goal in mind. And if I had a whiteboard, if I could walk around the room and share, I have whiteboards downstairs, and I'm one of these people with the dry erase boards, and then I have flip charts, and um, I have one for like net worth and assets and all that kind of stuff, and then I have one for team growing and how is that going. So I'm really in action around metrics around my goals. So, whatever that big vision is, we need to break it down into smaller goals. And the reason why is because that big vision is going to seem like, you're eating an elephant. But what we need to do is we need to break it into smaller parts, because those are the things that are going to drive you and keep you going along the way, right? Just small bites along the way. And then the shift of just that 1% difference. And this is also a mindset tool too. So we're going to talk about the 1%, like shifting your mindset around this, but start to plan your goals. So you want to write down that big, big goal. And then you want to figure out all like, what is it going to take? And you might not know all the steps along the way. I didn't know all the steps along the way. I just knew, okay, fail forward. Right. So I figured, okay, so if I need $10,000 in residual income a month, how much investments would I need to be saving, and at what percent return would that help? Right. So I was like, okay, I got to figure that out. And then I'm like, ooh, that's going to take a little while to get to that point. I just got off a divorce, and, financially, I'm not in a good space. So what else can I be doing? Right. I always am asking myself, what else can I do to get to that end goal? So you're going to break down whatever that goal is. And for like, now I'm even thinking, um, house on the water with an infinity pool. Like, if you told me 10 years ago I'm actually thinking about that, I would have said you're out of your mind, because there was no way in sight. I was lucky I could pay my mortgage back then, right? So really, really get specific. You're going to make a plan to get there. So I like to do goals, except for retirement goals, which are 20, 30 years out. I like to do goals in 10-year increments. I break it down for 10 years. Then I say, okay, in 5 years, what do I need to accomplish? In 3 years, what do I need to accomplish? In 1 year, what do I need to accomplish? And then in 1 year, I do it by quarterly goals. And then I break it down by monthly. Because if I were to wait a quarter and I was really off course, I'd be mad at myself that I wasted 3 months not being on course. So, and follow your plan and course correct along the way. Something's not working. Okay. So we fail fast, and we fail often, and we course correct it and figure out where it needs to be. But what I want to share with you is this is a very hard thing to do when you are not in conversation with other people about what you're creating, because it all stays up here. And then you have that like bad neighborhood in your head that derails you. So you want to be in conversation with people about what you're creating for your life. You want to invest in your goals. You want to invest the time and the energy, but you also want to invest financially in what that is for you. So if that's a coach, if that's personal development, if that's reading, if that's being in a mastermind, whatever that is, you want to invest in your future self, right? You want to invest in your goals. You want to be in conversation. And I have an advisory board. It's not the official Katherine Dean advisory board, but I have an advisory board around me. I have these different advisors that talk to me about different things. Now, I'm not talking financial advisors. I'm talking advisors like a CPA I speak to, right? And I also have somebody in my same industry that I talk to about what's working for them, what's not working, how are things, especially now with Zoom calls, right? I have an advisor when I have somebody that I talk to and I talk through about business ideas. I have a mastermind group I meet with on Monday nights as an accountability. We all share what we've accomplished during the week. We track what we're accomplishing. We upload them into a private Facebook group, and we talk about it on Monday nights. What's working, what's not working. So this is my advisory board, because Katherine Dean alone I would be completely messed up, because one thing would go wrong. I would be completely derailed for 5 days. I'd be mad at myself for not accomplishing it. Like, I know my own brain. I know what I'm capable of and what I'm not. So make sure you're in conversation with people about what you want out of your life and what you're creating. First of all, you're declaring goals, right? So you're speaking it into existence. That's number one. Number two, you also are holding yourself somewhat accountable by telling somebody and having integrity about where you want to go. So those two things would scare me enough to be in action. Some people may need a little bit more than that, right? So you might want to, write down your goals, and you might want to take a snapshot and send it to a mastermind group, or your best friend, or somebody that is in conversation with you. But don't hold back. Sometimes we're so afraid to share something that is so out of our comfort zone that we hold ourselves back, which then in turn holds our lives back. So we definitely don't want to do that. We want to be in action, right? So, and we want to be okay failing, because failing is just the stepping stone to the next success. So we want to fail upward. We don't want to fail and derail ourselves and pull it. And I keep saying derail, and I don't know why, because I rarely ever use that word, but we don't want to go off course, fail, and kind of go back into ourselves, because that's not helping you, and it's not helping everybody around you, right? So we want to fail. Maybe we want to share how we failed. Maybe it's like, do you have any ideas about why this wouldn't have worked the way that I thought it would? Because there's a lot of knowledge out there, and people always want to give their opinion. You don't have to take all opinions. Believe me, I remember when I was a first time mom, and I was like, oh my God, everybody's got an opinion about how I should raise my child, right? And I took what I took, and I left what I left. And you know what? It was what it was. So don't allow everybody's opinions to kind of push you off course, because remember, your vision and your goals are right there in front of you. And if I can't stress this enough, dream bigger than you ever thought was possible. Why? Because when we set goals, we have intentions, we take action for small goals, we're going to achieve the small goals. That's hands down, we're going to achieve them. But if we have really big goals, and we're striving, and we're going, and we're in momentum, and we're trying to meet like this, huge goal. For instance, right now, I have a pretty big goal. There's an incentive on the table to go to Cabo. I'm new to what I'm doing, and I have a pretty big goal that I'm going to get a fully paid trip to Cabo, right? In my brain, my heart is telling me I want to go to Cabo. My brain is telling me, oh my God, you can't do it. My mastermind is telling me, oh, Katherine, you've got this. So you see, like, how, like, you have to have all the parts together. It's like, if you're missing a piece of the puzzle, you're not gonna be on course. So dream big, bigger, bigger, bigger. So if for me, the $10,000 a month was like, oh my God, I wasn't even making that in my career at the time. I was like, $10,000 a month. How the heck am I going to get there? This is residual income. This isn't like income I'm working for, right? And I knew I was always a hustler, and I knew I had grit, and I would get there somehow. But $10,000 a month, it was like, no way. There's no way this is happening, right? And then all of a sudden it starts like, oh, I start making like $950 a month here, and then $1,000 here, and it starts to build over time. And you're going, oh my God, okay, maybe I didn't dream big enough. So now my goals are starting to expand, right? So that's what I'm saying, is that 10 years out, you can accomplish a lot in 10 years, right? Especially if you have the right people around you. So dream bigger than you ever thought was possible. Set your goals, get them in action, because goals and dreams and vision go nowhere without the action steps, right? And you're going to fail along the way with the action steps. And that's perfectly okay, because you're getting there. You're going to be in momentum to get there. So this is the network, right? Network and adding value. Networking right now, at least in New York, and I know in many states, networking in person is a struggle, right? But I think people are pretty used to, can I hop on a quick Zoom call, 15 minutes, so we can get to know each other. People come on with their face and we have a conversation. But networking has the word work in it, right? So nothing ever just is handed to us. It just doesn't, unfortunately, I wasn't handed like this silver platter of a trust fund. I know clients that have been, and I love the fact that they have a freedom life, because I get to see what they're doing, and I get to live into that future for myself, right? But networking is just that. You need to network. And what's beautiful, and I picked a very simple photo for a reason, because let's say there's three people in the middle, but you can kind of see like there's lots of circles around and everything. These three people have access to thousands of people. And let's say I'm the woman there with the ponytail, and I'm talking to the gentleman across from me. And I said something along the lines of, listen, like, I really want, I love being on podcasts, and do you know anybody that's looking for me to be on a podcast? Let's just hypothetically say, oh my God, you didn't know, like, his best friend runs a whole podcast event and he knows thousands of podcasters. You just never know. Always share what you're up to in life. And that's what networking is all about. And like, you definitely want centers of influence around you that are going to help you create the life that you're looking to create, right? So we want to start networking. We want to be in conversation. If you're not doing this already, you want to get uncomfortable, because nothing like my comfort zone is actually more uncomfortable than getting out of my comfort zone. My comfort zone is I didn't meet my goals yet. I'm frustrated. I'm anxious. Um, I haven't empowered 1 million women yet. All those things, which would be considered in your comfort zone, are actually the most uncomfortable, because that means I'm not up to something bigger in my head, right? I'm not up to what I actually want to create in my life. So we want to start networking, and networking with people and through people. And what do I mean by this? Because this was one of the biggest lessons for that entrepreneurial spirit that I didn't get initially. Was you want to network, let's say you're networking one-on-one with somebody, and Sally speaks to Susan. Okay, I'll just use S for alliteration. So Sally's talking to Susan, but Susan may not necessarily have like the person that Sally's looking to network with. But Sally asks Susan, do you know anybody that does blah, blah, blah? Oh, yeah, let me do an intro for you. And then now Sally gets the connection she wanted, and that connection opens up an entire world for her. So this is literally, so it's great that Susan didn't now you also, and I'll share that this is one of the biggest mistakes I made very early on in my career and what I was doing. I never added value to Susan. So Susan's over here, she's introducing me to people. Not that I dropped Susan, I would still be friendly, but I never added value. I never was like, oh, well, Susan, what are you looking for? How can I connect you? What are you doing? And really like mastermind for what she's looking to create. I kind of heard what she said, but I was so fast to move forward because driver again, remember, I was so fast to move forward that I kind of left carnage behind me. So when you're networking, network through people, but also add a ton of value to the people that you're in conversation with. So when you go to a mastermind, and I know John was talking about this before, that he's in a mastermind. When you go to a mastermind, you're there to add value, not just to sit and observe, because value you're adding, you just never know if somebody's in the group. First, number one, somebody in that group is looking for the value, like looking for what you're up to, or wants to partner with you for something, or you never know who the people in the mastermind have connections to that they're willing to connect you with. So make sure you're always adding value and free value. Be in conversation, right? Just continue to add value to everybody that you meet. I joined a board for Girls Inc. Long Island. The reason I did that was not because I wanted anything out of it. It just was so aligned with my purpose of young girls being empowered, so that when they get out of high school, they're owning their worth already. They're stepping into their power. I wish I had that when I was younger. Why I'm a Girl Scout leader is so that my daughters know that by service, you can give back and you can create something so beautiful in the world. And, doing your gold award and your silver and your bronze award, it teaches them that skill set to be of service to others at all times, right? So when you're networking, always, always, always add value. And then this is the number one thing we're going to talk about today, is managing your mind, because your thoughts control your life. If you think, I thought I wasn't worth making six figures a year, years. And when I tell you this, I would be in a job, my client base, I'd be making $90,000 a year, but I never got to that six figures for a very long time. Then all of a sudden I was like, I want to be making $1 million a year. Why wouldn't I want to do that? Because with $1 million a year, I can contribute. I can be more philanthropic. I could be sharing all this knowledge. I would have a lot more freedom to share with other people. I could go around the country. I could be speaking on stages, all these different things, right? And it started to happen when I started to think bigger for myself. So our mindset, however we wake up in the morning, our thoughts that come into our mind, I will share with you. I have index cards for the goals I'm trying to create, as well as a mindset I'm looking to shift into. I always think about who is my future self, and I live into that future self prior to myself actually getting there. And I wake up in the morning. I love my cup of coffee in the morning. I journal. I focus on that. I do positive affirmations. I have I mindset. I have a little meditation area in my house with my Himalayan sea salt and my Buddha and my rocks. And I do all that kind of stuff, not because I just want to sit where I'm at and be okay and comfortable here. It's because I know that people are depending on me showing up that day. If it's not my kids, if it's somebody that I have a professional relationship with, a personal relationship with, people are depending on me. I'm depending on me to show up as my best self. So personal development and mindfulness of keeping the thoughts in your head in a state. Now, every day is not going to be the same. Every day you're not going to show up and you're going to be like, you're going to be ready to go and rearing to go, and life happens, right? But when you have the tools and you have the habits in place to be mindful of what you're feeding your brain and you're feeding your thoughts, and having a personal development way of moving, right? Because we want to, in the beginning, I said, create it, love it, live it. You want to create and step into and live the life that you want for yourself and for your families and possibly for the world, right? So you want to be working on professional development as well, because our minds can get a hold of us. And I love it that Charles, this gentleman that he was one of my mentors 2 years ago. And he always said, like, get out of that bad neighborhood in your head, because we all have them. And you put on the news, and not to, you may think this is crazy. I don't watch the news. That was just feeding bad mental stuff into my head. And probably about a year and 3 months, I haven't really put on the news. And when it goes on, I'm like shutting it off. Like if it comes on when something else is on. So because I don't want that feeding into what I'm creating and what I want to be in the world, right? I don't want that to derail me from where I want to be going. And I have a lot of my own monkeys in my brain. You know, we call them monkeys in our brains. We call them bad neighborhood. There's so many different tools like that we can shift what's going on there. So if I can't stress it enough, personal development and mindfulness. Now, if you want some ideas and some thoughts around this, depending on where you're at, feel free to reach out to me, because I have a ton of books. I've gone to a ton of events. I'm missing my events right now for personal development, and work really hard on trying to create a better mindset for myself. So how do you do all this? Like, how do we shift where we're going? Um, how do we break the glass ceiling, right? The financial glass ceiling for ourselves, because that's really how, when we break the financial glass ceiling, we create a totally different path for our future. And not because I want more things, it's because I want accessibility to be able to share more things with more people, if that makes sense, to share knowledge and to be free to, get on calls like this. I could do probably 5 of these a day if I actually had the freedom to, right? So how do we do all of this? If you would like, you can download this, and I'll put it in the chat. Hold on one second. I think somebody put in the chat. Hold on. Bear with me 1 second. I'll put this in the chat because you can just go to it. But I created this because I know that women want to be the Wonder Woman of their life. And if you have children, that happens as well, right? You want to be the superhero for your kids. So how do you break through that financial glass ceiling? Here's a resource and a tool that can help you get there. And lastly, oh, did it not go through? Hold on. Lastly, let's stay connected. Let's be in conversation. Here's my Facebook, my Instagram, my LinkedIn. One probably leads to the other. They're all, all on social media, and you can probably find them at katherinedeanbrands.com. I think all my links are up and running. But thank you for allowing me to serve you today. I truly appreciate it. And if there's any questions, John, I'll pass it over to you if anybody has any questions.
Perfect. Yeah, great job, Katherine. Ladies, for those of you that are with us today, if you've got a question that you want to pose, if you don't mind throwing it up in the chat box, that would be absolutely awesome. Katherine, as you were talking, I have a mindset coach that one of the mentors that speaks into my life. And one of the statements he made to me as you were talking, I could hear him saying this statement over and over. And one of the things that he reminds me of all the time is he says, your business and the quality of life that it affords you and your family is a direct representation of the thoughts that you bring to your business. And how
100.
often do we focus on developing our business, but everything we do, and you touched on it so eloquently, starts as a thought. And in my own coaching, when I coach, and I do a lot of coaching with advisors and with other folks as well, our thoughts shape our beliefs, and our beliefs shape our choices. Our choices become our habits that dictate the outcomes of our lives. So I appreciate you spending a lot of time talking about mindset because it's so important. A number of studies that have been done that show that women in particular tend to undervalue themselves and they don't see the true worth of who they are. And I admire any time I can see anybody have an opportunity to step into their greatness and to have an opportunity to see that they've really been put on this earth to accomplish something of significance. And when they embrace that, it's just so empowering. So thank you for sharing. I'm looking to see if we've got any great advice. Great advice. Thank you, Katherine. So everybody really appreciated you taking some time to share. I posted your Katherine Dean brand website as well, so folks can find you there. What I'd like to do, we're about 7 minutes before the top of the hour. Katherine, I want to ask one other thing while I'm thinking about it. You talked about walking the walk. And one of the questions that I thought as you were doing that, as you're changing your mindset and you're going from what if and that mindset of, I don't know if I can do this or not, to what you said, really embracing and believing you're capable of so much more. What do you do in the interim? Do you fake it till you make it? What do you do in your own life? And what did you do to get from that, can I do this, to, oh yeah, this is possible? What took place there?
Oh, I love that you asked that. And I knew if I had another half an hour, I'm telling you, I probably would have gone into affirmations. And if you look at my mirror in my bathroom, no joke, I don't know if everybody loves those fabulous stickies, but depending on what I'm working on, there's always stickies on there, or there's affirmations I'm reading. I'm reading right now one from Abraham Hicks about being in true alignment with the energy and your entire body. Like I read it over and over and over again. I don't necessarily fake it till I make it. So I love that you said that. I kind of fail as I'm going through it. I
Hmm.
share with people and I'm pretty honest. I'm sometimes too brutally honest about what's going on in my life, but I'm honest and I'll say, listen, this is where I'm going and this is what I'm creating. And I would love some feedback from you. For, like I said, a very long time, I didn't ask for advice because I was so insecure and I didn't have the confidence to even ask for the advice because I thought people would think I was dumb by asking for it. So I asked for advice and walking the walk. Like I failed. Like I will tell people I failed at my first real estate venture. Like I failed at it because I bought at the height of the market and we didn't flip it quick enough. I did. I was terrified to do it again. I was terrified to own real estate again. Uh, but I would say to people, I'm saving my lump sum so I can buy my first income investment property. That's how I would say it. I would step into it. So I had to walk the walk or I wouldn't be able to have integrity talking about it. Does that make sense? Does that answer the
Absolutely. That
question?
does make sense. Yes, it does. Yep. One of my mentors is Dr. John C. Maxwell, and
Okay.
John talks about, failure and failing forward. In my podcast, I do a weekly podcast called Be a Black Belt Leader, and last week's podcast was My Friend Failure. And learning to embrace failure is one of the greatest teachers we can ever face because it's in failure that we learn what doesn't work so that we can check that off the list until we get to what does work and we have an opportunity to learn from that. Thomas Edison famously said when asked about the incandescent light bulb and his journey to go through that, he said, I learned 1,000 ways not to invent the light bulb before I finally got it right. But it was through that process of failing forward, that you had an opportunity to see success. And so I
Mhm.
appreciate you sharing.
Yeah.
So
Thank
anyway,
you. Thank you.
absolutely. Catherine, I thank you so much for being with us. What I want to do is give everybody a 5-minute bathroom break to go get a drink of water, run the restroom, do whatever you do. We're going to pause for about 5 minutes, give you ladies an opportunity to do that. When we come back, we're going to have Monica Breaux has an incredible story you guys are going to appreciate and enjoy in the second hour of our Women's Empowerment Summit today. So let's take a quick 5-minute break, give you guys an opportunity to do what you need to do, and then we'll be back here right at the top of the hour. So thanks for joining us. Katherine, thank you for sharing, and we very much appreciate you being a part of our event and leading off. Fantastic job. And Monica, we look forward to having you up here in just a few minutes. Thanks, everybody. Well, ladies, welcome as you're coming back in. We're going to be getting started with our second hour here in just a minute. I hope you enjoyed the first session with Katherine. And from the comments we saw from many of you, thank you for that. While you're coming in, I'd love for you, if you don't mind, in the chat box, just to drop in what city and state you're coming in from. Would love to see what part of the country everybody's tuning in from, and just to kind of know the diversity of our audience in terms of geographically where you guys are calling home. Hey, Monica, glad you're with us. Getting ready to tee you up here in just a minute. Yeah.
Thank you.
Southern
Is the lighting okay?
California. Absolutely. Tahoe, Nevada. Another California. Fresno. Minnesota. Is it cold in Minnesota? Illinois. Man, we are East Coast, West Coast. I love it. Yeah. Well, Vision Advisors, we're an insurance marketing organization. We're located in Hot Springs, Arkansas. I guess really our claim to fame is we love to say that we are big enough to serve you, but small enough to know you. We don't think that folks that come to us are a number. Everybody has a person. Everybody has a passion. And we love to do that. Monica is one of the producers that works with us, and very excited to have her sharing I guess more of a personal story than anything else, but she's got some amazing things that she's going to share as well. Katherine teed it up in the first hour very well. So let's just get right into this second hour of what we do. So let me introduce Monica to you. Nurturer by nature, connector by desire, successful entrepreneur by who she is and what she does. A business strategist and a financial consultant, Monica is the mother of two and grandmother of one. And just when you think you've had enough, success happens. Monica is the creator of opportunity with a strategic plan and a heart to serve. She struggled through many things in her life, and you're going to have an opportunity to hear some of that today. But one of the things that Monica found was forgiveness for herself. And that's going to be an interesting story that for some of you, I think is going to resonate today. And more importantly, love that came with ultimate opportunity. One of the things I can say Monica puts in here, she says, I don't fit into any one box. So I say that I built a box without a lid. And when we think about empowerment, that's what empowerment is. It's building a box with no lid so that you've got an opportunity to put all of your hopes and all of your dreams. But realistically, you want an expandable box, because as you begin to empower yourself to see success, you begin to do what Katherine talked about in our first session this morning, expanding your thinking and thinking bigger. Now you have an opportunity to see greater opportunity. And when you seize that opportunity and you begin to see success from that, you need a bigger box, not just for the accolades, but to hold the bigger dreams of more people that you can serve. So Monica's going to be coming to us and sharing a story that she has that is going to, I believe, really speak to a number of you that are listening today. So Monica, with that, I'm going to drop your website into the chat in a minute so folks can connect with you, but looking forward to hearing your story. Thank you for taking time to be with us, and I'm going to quit talking and let you have the floor.
Well, thank you. I don't have a screen share so it will be me speaking today. And it's an honor to be here, and what a pleasure to follow Katherine. I love the beacon. I love the light. You'll hear how that is a part of my journey. I kind of want to start just kind of with beginning with the end in mind, because, you know, as we all speak and we're all talking and we're all growing, I started a long time ago wanting to write a book, didn't know what it was going to be about, just knew that I wanted to write it from the perspective of my chair, which is a salon styling chair. And I came up with a vision and a vision board and just started creating things for myself along the way. And it just started culminating together in the perfect storm. So my vision, with beginning with the end in mind, is to be as successful as I can. And for 20 years now, I've said that I've wanted to have a Forbes worthy achievement. I don't care if I'm published. It's not about being known. It's about being able to leave this world having made that big of an impact. And so philanthropy is huge for me. I love serving different things. I've been on the board of directors for a domestic violence intervention center. Having been a survivor of domestic violence, I have been I just in so many different organizations outside of our financial services industry that have all just created these perfect storms to write a book and share stories about other people's journeys. So I decided to call what I'm doing a woman's journey to success. And so I'm really grateful for the Women's Summit and to hear the rest of the speakers moving forward as well. So beginning with the end in mind is when I was a little girl, I just wanted to be like Mary that we read about in the Bible. I went to Catholic school, and I can remember all the way back thinking, what a beautiful person. Her heart was golden. She just wanted to love people. She was always trying to do the right thing, and just was the ultimate teacher of what the gift of love brings to everyone. And fortunately, that has been the tone of my life carrying forward, and it will never leave me. That's just my very first purpose is being that light in the darkness and showing that love to someone who needs it, but knowing when to set those boundaries. So but having been going to a Catholic school, my parents divorced when I was young, and you talked earlier, Catherine, about how things shape our minds. The nuns told me that my parents were going to die and go to hell because they were divorced. And what a frightening thing, because I had two beautiful parents. And the way my father explained it to me was, that they were just two people who they weren't happy anymore. And so they needed to figure out how to be happy outside of each other, that we'd all still be a family. And I was accepting of that. And so I thought, oh my gosh, who would know better than this nun about what's really going to be our fate? That's what I believed as a young girl. And now that I'm doing that intentional journaling and understanding what my story looks like, and going back and identifying what all of the things that happened to us, if you go back and you journal about the very first things that you can remember and bring forward the emotions and the attachments that we had going with it, it really showed me the clear-cut path on how I chose some of the situations that I was in without really reflecting on what, at the time when I was getting into the world that I got into, how did I get here? I think you mentioned that too, Catherine. This is my life. What am I doing? So moving on from being in second grade or first grade, and I started bringing forward that self-doubt and that fear, and then I was in this place where I just never knew that I was supposed to share with people what my fears and my emotions were. I just believed, and I knew that no matter what I did, I needed to submerge myself in something to take away my fear. And so I'm sorry, I just got distracted by a message. So the fears, how do I take away all these fears? I submerged myself, fortunately, as a young person into sports. I did everything. I was excelling at swimming. I was excelling at ballet. I was always in the front, and I was the one who was always winning in gymnastics. I was a gold medal ice skater. I did a lot of really incredible things, and I never did it with the intention to put anybody underfoot. It was just, wow, I can do this. It was the only validation that I felt that I could feel that helped me feel good. As I started to become older, I started hearing people tell me what I didn't want. And so you talk about knowing your value and understanding what your worth is. I never knew how to dream that dream outside of my own internal feelings, and I would feel guilty for wanting to be successful. We got to a point where now I'm in junior high school, and all of those attachments that start coming into your world from what people are telling you about yourself, you start really internalizing that, because as Mary, I was doing what I was told. I was believing, and I was the good student. Now, I'm not downing the religion. I'm just saying that that's how I internalized the message. And so I started believing more and more and more that I didn't want things, that I didn't deserve things, that I didn't need to have goals because it wasn't for me. I should just do what was safe. I should just do what was best for what I now know, best for everyone else to feel comfortable with what they wanted for me. So I spent a lot of time in sports and things like that. And then when I got into high school, I ended up becoming derailed from that. Things became more violent. Things became, we lived in such a tumultuous time. There was a lot of racial tension. There was a lot of gang fights, and I lived in a nice neighborhood, so I didn't understand all of this hate. And so I went down a different path of sports, and I chose to go into the drug lifestyle. Now, mind you, I haven't shared with you what my home life looked like at the time. I have a beautiful family. I have really wonderful parents, but nobody was home. My mom was in college. My little sister was in preschool. My older brother was working. So I was just me, just trying to navigate this life, and just thought that this is it. This is what the world looks like. So I just have to deal with it. So I internally took what sports taught me, and I remained strong for me, but I found other ways to cope with my fear so that I didn't have the fear, which I think you can all estimate that I got into the drugs, and I became, that led to different relationships that weren't healthy. And it just created this snowball effect of really negative things. One of the biggest blessings that came out of that lifestyle is that my I ended up pregnant with my daughter at 20. And I knew from the day my mother was pregnant with my little sister that I wanted to be a mom. And so everything in my life changed the moment I found out that I was pregnant. I think God sent me an angel that day. And I was so thankful that I had the wherewithal in my mind that this was the life that I wanted to choose, that this was the ultimate way to share what love was, as being a parent, and being able to pass on all of these good qualities and these good things that that parenting has to offer. Now, did I have the right tools to do that? No, but I think I did a really wonderful job. I was in the middle of this drug lifestyle, and I just said, I'm not doing this. I will find my way out. And that's where I drew off of all of those good qualities that, being in sports and being competitive, although I wasn't competitive for others, just competitive internally. I can do this. I don't care what you say about me. I can do this. And I had to put away all the shame that came with all of the things that had transpired in that period of my life, and learn to live with it. So the forgiveness hadn't come in yet. So I lived with a lot of guilt. I lived with a lot of trying to please others. I was always trying to get approval from the outside. Now, I began working after my daughter was 3, and I learned that everything I did, I was very successful at. It didn't matter what it was. And so I tease now when I share my story, because I do mentor others that are coming through that lifestyle. Good, bad, or indifferent, I go to the top. So I choose to go to the top in a good place now. And I choose to share that with others. And so I started working at a salon. I had gotten my hair license at 17, and that is something that I chose as a career path. I still keep my hands in it because it's fun, but I was really fortunate to have a trade to fall back on while I was trying to figure out how to raise my children. Because the one thing I knew is no matter what I did every day, is I just had to get up and go to work. I had to change what I was doing in order to make my life different. Still, with the arrows in the quiver, I still, I could load up that entire arrow and shoot that bow, and I didn't have a target. I just knew I wanted out of this lifestyle. I became pregnant at 25 with my son. And so again, we're upping the game. By the time I was 25, I was able to buy my first home. So I had done that just by just believing in me and believing that I could do it. Still, with the people from the outside looking in, it's hard to shed that shell that people, I don't want to say they cast on you, but I don't know if you've heard of what the looking glass self is, so I'll share that with you now. It's where you perceive yourself as you think others see you. And that was the most damaging thing I could do for myself up until I was 52 years old, and I'll be 55 this year. So along the way, I had learned that I knew I was really good, and I knew who I was inside, and I never forgot about me, and I forgave everyone for thinking what they did about me. But it took me until I was 52 to discover what that forgiveness for me looked like. And so along the way, I kept trying to hit a goal and trying to make things work the way I thought other people wanted me to do it based on what they told me I still didn't want. I mean, even just this year when I went to go buy my Audi, my family's telling me, you should get a Toyota, you should do this. And I'm thinking, no, I need it. I want my car that I want to drive because I've worked for it and I want that. And I'm not apologizing for it. So it's just trying to bridge that gap on what that vision of ourselves looks like. It's a journey. And so again, that's why my book and my podcasts are a woman's journey to success, because all of us have a story. All of us have this fear of failure. All of us have a fear of disappointing others. But the biggest thing was along the way, while I'm trying to share or please everyone else, I'm letting myself down every step of the way because I'm not living to my fullest potential. So I began a journey and opened up a salon, and I was a salon owner and very successful. I also did business consulting for the last 21 years along the way, very successful. Katherine, you mentioned this too, is we oftentimes don't value our work. Well, I've built other companies up to acquisition. Very large corporation was able to be purchased, and I was paid $10 an hour for what I did. And I was personally responsible for reworking the entire strategy for the company that allowed us to have enough of a market share that another big salon company bought us out so that we could not, because we had too much of the market share. They bought us out to shut us down. I feel that's a compliment. So moving forward from that, I also helped a gentleman get a provisional patent for his product and helped his business move forward. And he was able to, he has international sales, and he paid me $15 an hour. So, so again, I wasn't valuing myself. So others, I felt, weren't valuing me either, because that's what I was portraying and attracting. Then I got to a point where I was really on this really positive journey, really starting to value myself, really starting to take off. My salon was super successful. I was building a home. This was the third home that I've owned by this time. And my daughter was killed. So you have a 6-day journey here that I have to share this story because it's so beautiful and inspirational. So these are good tears, people. And I hope that all of you really can internalize what giving up the power of to others means. My daughter was in a coma for 6 days, and she was never going to wake up. She had sheer hemorrhaging. And this is when I remembered thinking, oh my God, you know, this is what it means to give it all up to you. I want you to do the most merciful thing for her, no matter what that means to me. And because at this point she's suffering and I'm not okay with that. And I was able to tell her, even though she had never woken up, she was in a coma, that, you know, while they were prepping her for long-term care, that, you know, you and God are talking right now. If you need to sleep, you sleep. If you need to wake up, you wake up. And if you need to go home, you go home. Everybody will love you and nobody will be mad at you. And she had a tear come out of her eye. And her nurse told me that she had hurt me. And then they took her in for her, to prep her for the long-term care. And I knew I couldn't get her father to agree with me to take her off of life support. And I couldn't judge him for that because he wasn't in the same place as I was with what was going on. And I went to the church with some of my friends and we were praying and said, okay, God, please, you know, guide the hands of the surgeon. And then the next thing I know, I'm being called back to the hospital. They had punctured her trachea. And ultimately, she was going to pass away. So they wanted me to come and tell her goodbye. And so I remembered in that moment just being in absolute shock and thinking, okay, I have to be brave for my son, I've never seen anyone die. I'm not about to watch her die. I've had this beautiful connection with her. So I kissed her on the foot and I left. And here I am trying to just calm my mind. I don't want to be affirmed. I just don't want the phone call I know is coming. And I was clearing my mind, and the next thing I see is Jesus walking on the beach carrying her, and she was sleeping and she was happy. And that's when my phone rang to tell me that she had passed away. And in that moment, and this is hard for people who haven't experienced this, and I hope that you never join this club, but in that moment, I was absolutely so relieved that she was gone, because that was what was most merciful for her. And that was what I had asked for. And so at that point, the journey had to begin for me about forgiveness. Forgiveness for her father being abusive, forgiveness for the man who killed her, forgiveness for myself for drinking too much for the year and a half after she passed, and trying to be a healthy mom for my son, and trying to coordinate a dysfunctional second marriage, and just going through it just felt like everything, like Chicken Little, the sky was falling down on me. And how do I get to this place of forgiveness? And so with each little step of the way, I continued to work, and I continued to create success for myself, and I continued to guide my son through and get him through. He's a wonderful father now, and a productive member of society, which I wasn't sure he was going to make it there. And how do I find my way back out of all of these things? Because as you can imagine, my world did fall apart, and I drank a lot for about a year and a half. And my marriage was already bad, my second marriage. And so this just was the end of it, because he couldn't compute how to deal with me or my son. And I didn't have room for him. And so in that battle, I lost everything. And so then I was very angry. So now I had to learn to forgive him. And so pulling myself up by the bootstraps, literally out of a ditch, if you could, imagine, as what I felt like. I was at the bottom, and I refused every day to believe that this was my life. This is how I'm going to live. And everyone telling me what I had to do with my son, because he was a troublemaker. He was going through a lot. He was 9.5. He saw his sister die. So, I had so many more negative things coming at me. Everybody telling me what a bad mom I was, because I had the house of expelled kids. Well, what are you going to do with an expelled child? But he's going to make friends with the other expelled kids. So I decided, as I was helping these children find their own way to become productive members, that I was going to nurture myself as well. So I began a journey where I homeschooled my son and all of his misfit friends. And we had little powwows every morning, and I fed these kids probably the only meal they got every day. They came from dysfunctional households themselves, and I wasn't there to judge anybody else, because I know how lonely that was for me. And I began, man, what a great gift that was, because you hear these golden hearts of these kids, and understanding that I was like them at some point in my life. I chose to have them sit around my table, but the only payment I wanted for a meal every day was for you to sit around my table and you tell me your story, and you have to own it. I don't care what your story is, and I don't want you to feel shame for it. I just need you to understand what your responsibility is for that, and we can work with that. And from that, I started to grow personally. And regardless of what everybody else was telling me, I chose to forge forward with a passion to help others and to jump back into that again. I just kept forgetting to bring me with them. So I got to the point where the kids were graduated. None of them went to prison. My son, I was able to give him a diploma. And his friends, I taught them how to get apartments, how to, here's $40, you have to go buy yourself groceries. Here's my car needs brakes, so you guys have to go find out if you can do it yourself, watch a YouTube video. I just gave them ways to find their resources, know your options. You don't have options if you go to prison. So let's just keep you out of that, because all of these children were expelled for drug usage. And so I realized that they were experiencing some of the same pains I was. And how do I redirect that to the best path? So they used to sit around and say, wow, your life is so great. And mind you, I hadn't been drinking for years after that. I just went through that short period of time. But how did you get through? We love your life. I had the truck everybody wanted. I had gas in the cars for all the kids. I was getting back on my feet. I had a nice place. I had 10 acres. The kids could just play on and stay out of trouble. And I shared with them, the biggest thing is that I chose to forgive myself for the mistakes that I have made, and to bring forward the gifts that I got from that. And those gifts have allowed me to guide you without judgment on the best path to help you find your own paths. And from there, I started thinking, wow, what is my path? And so I started creating vision boards. And my first vision board was to not have money be a crisis, to not have drama in my life, to attract all of the things that I wanted. I want to re-nurture. I want to learn to nurture that girl that was the gold medal winner, that was the gymnast, that was all those wonderful things. I'm a CEO's daughter. I have brains. I have a bachelor's of science in business administration, because along the way, I had put myself through college through all of this. My master's program is in global management, and I loved finance and I loved working with money. So I knew that I had a passion to help people with their businesses, and I became a business financial consultant. And from there, I decided I was leaving far too much money on the table, and that I wanted to become licensed. So now we fast forward, my son's on his own, he's doing great, I've done my job, I'm feeling good, I'm successful in business, but I'm still taking too much on and buying in too much on what other people wanted for me. So I started helping people build their businesses again, and again, and doing great things for all these other people and not getting paid for it in the licensed industry. My mentors, when I first came into the industry, one of them was a company that was just really shady. So I learned what not to do. And actually the company owner is in prison. I knew that this place was not good. I just didn't know why at first. Then I went to as a captive agent in the property and casualty world. I went, this isn't for me, because they just want me to sell home and auto. And that's just a really boring conversation to me. I'm a businesswoman. I love talking business strategy. And I really love having high level conversations about that, because that's what makes me want to pick up the phone every day. So I'll fast forward to where we're at today. And I had met an incredible group of women. Well, I'm sorry. Let me take a step back. I'm a little emotional at the moment. I found a company that I'm still very good friends with the CEO. He's like a little brother. He's like a mentor to me, a personal mentor who helped me find my value, helped me learn to nurture the person within me. And he says, you need to read he says, I think you should read the book Relentless if you're open to it, because I think you get a lot from that. I said, okay. So I read the book, and there's a character in there that they call the cleaner. And the cleaner is somebody that shows up quietly, not worried about being in the limelight, but always kind of comes out on top, or is moving to the journey to the top. But every time they find success, they want more. And Katherine, I loved your story, because as you were talking, I kept going, yes, that's me. Yes, that's me. I can't wait to get to the top everywhere I'm at, because to me, there's another tree top I can jump to. There's always another higher level. And when I'm done with that, I'm shooting for the moon, because there is no limit to what I know I can do. And I don't want to find success alone. So one of the things that I liked about the book Relentless was that the pivotal point that talked to me about shifting my entire mindset was one little sentence, and it says, people are going to judge you no matter what. So let them judge you for what you accomplish. Done. I'm in. And you know, I'm happy to tell you that at 54, I learned that lesson. That's when that pivot point hit me, is last July. And I sat down and I just hammered out all of these ideas on paper. I know what I'm good at. I know what I want to do. I know what I love to talk about. I know the conversations I need to have. I know how to build a business. And all of a sudden, I was like, hey, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty cool. I love me. Yes, it's Madonnica, Kathy. And so I just decided to put together a business plan. Now, I had met an incredible group of women along the way in the financial services who, when I was at one of my low points, really found a way to lift me up, hold me up, and make sure that I got paid. And so with that, as I'm starting to create my business plan, I start thinking about, wow, this is too good not to share. I got to have a conversation with people I know, these relationships that I want to leverage, all these really successful people that I've been afraid to approach because I didn't have anything to bring to the table at the time. So I had mentioned to one of the GAs that I worked for, and he made some incredible introductions for me last year. Kathy Gumbiner and I connected over a networking thing and realized that we knew each other, and she ultimately connected me to John Terry. And this is where I have to say, John, I don't know if you realize how pivotal our conversation was for me. The validation that I knew I had from our conversation was just supposed to be 30 minutes, and at your nudging, we stayed on for another hour. We had an hour and a half conversation, and you gave me one of the biggest compliments that was so validating, because you validated what I knew about me, and you saw it. You acknowledged that you saw it, and I so appreciate that, because I've said this all along the way, is that, you know, if I just keep doing the right thing, the right people will notice. And I had to remind myself, because this is where the forgiveness and the buy-in comes in, is the right people are not always who you want them to be. They're unexpected. So here, you know, I knew of who you were, and I knew what opportunities that I had. And so I'm really grateful to be aligned with Vision Advisors. And I'm going to take a moment to share a lot of the infrastructure that I've put in place over the last 3 months since having our conversation. We've monetized on the efforts of a lot of what we've been doing, but the marketing and the introductions that you've given us through your company and through the different resources that you have available to us that are going to allow my group to grow, they're so instrumental. So now we have created this solid core of resources. We're ready to track. We've got our 1HQ in place. I've got my 3 VPs in line. We're all ready to train people to do what we do now. It took a little time, it took a little time to kind of put the pieces together, but I'm ready to scale out and I'm ready to grow. And I know that I don't know everything, but I know that you have my back. I know that you, John Terry, I can call Vision Advisors and Melissa's going to tell me what I need to know about my cases or case design, the M&M show there. I know that Kathy's got great connections as I share with her more about who I know and what I want to do with my business. I know that you've made the incredible introductions, and I have forgiven myself for not following my dream to its fullest potential until now. And so I hope that anyone who's younger than me or older than me on this call, if anything I have to share with you about my journey, it's that don't ever stop believing in you, because that's the one thing that's kept me going. I've always, always, always believed in who I am. I knew what I was good at. I know I'm awesome. I know I am, but I was afraid to proclaim that because I felt like I was being, conceited. And that's not what it's about, because for me, true success is not me reaching the moon alone. I'm bringing as many of you with me that want to come. And how can we help each other? You talk about networking. First of all, let's remind each other to, thank you, John. Let's remind each other about all of our great qualities. I have this team that we have a team meeting every Tuesday. You talked to Katherine about your advisory board. This is my advisory board. These are my strong core group of women who are very good friends to me, who we all have our strengths, and I believe in all of us, and that's why I brought us together very strategically. Their integrity is there, their mindset is there, they're just amazing. And so we all fill gaps that the others don't have. So together we're achieving great things. And what's really great is we have our one-to-ones also. And so I have to share something that was really touching for me with Lori Sherman. She's one of my VPs, and you'll be hearing from her this week as well. I'm helping her launch a business outside of ours, and I showed her the SWOT analysis, and I said, okay, let's get our mindset together, let's get our focus. We've got our 1 year, what's next year, what's 5 years, what's our exit strategy, who do we need to have conversations with, and what are our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and then I add an extra T for trends. And the very first top corner box, her strength was knowing Monica Breaux. So thank you, Lori. That was just so validating, and it felt so good because I feel the same way about you. And being able to just show up and be authentic and be real and not be perfect is what the journey is all about. It's not about being perfect. So we have to forgive ourselves and love ourselves for not being perfect. I take my drug addiction and my alcohol and all of the things that I experienced, and then getting into these horrible, two very abusive relationships. I take that and I take those lessons that I learned moving forward and share the gifts that I received from that. Those gifts happen to be, and even losing my daughter, there were gifts in all of that, because I can now have difficult, honest, authentic conversations with people, young, old, it doesn't matter, about the really hard things that we need to consider. And so how can I take that message and positively impact your life and help you, right? So the Woman's Journey to Success, my podcast, I left it raw. I only have, I don't know, maybe 13 episodes so far, but it's part of the culmination of things. So Katherine, I'd love to talk to you about that another time. Love to interview anybody who's wanting to tell their story, because the sound quality isn't good on it in the beginning. I don't know what I'm doing with it. I'll hire somebody eventually to do it. But if I change and edit and perfect my podcast from the beginning, then your journey to success is not authentic, is it? And so believing in ourselves, forgiving ourselves, and bringing those gifts forward is the most important message that I can share with you today. So having shared my personal experiences with you, I hope inspires you to embrace what made you feel bad about you, journal about that, find what it was that was the seed, and then plant it in a different garden and nurture it and teach it to grow in the light, right? Turn it into a positive. So how can I help these young kids that were going through this drug addiction and they were expelled and everybody's telling me tough love? Well, I took a step back and I said, well, I was that kid. So what did I do differently? How can I help them? How can I be that light in the darkness, right? How can I help other women who are going through abusive relationships? It's such a judgment call when people tell you, why do you stay? You don't know what it's like to be hunted. It's safer to stay, right? And so that's not a conversation you want to have with people. I now can approach that conversation from a different and loving place, offering support where I can, but I can't take the journey with them anymore. That's not where I'm at in my life. I can't, because I'll become an enabler. And I know that. And so for me, it's saying, I will protect you when you jump, They aren't crossing my line, and I will bring you to the resources, but you have to take the ball and run with it. I can't do that for you. So when you're ready, you let me know. So that's the gift that I get to give, because no one's going to cross the line if I'm on watch. Nobody's coming after you. And that was the gift that I bring forward from that experience. Having lost my child allowed me to have the difficult, and almost dying myself actually along the way, through stress and things like that, allowed me to have difficult conversations with my best friend and my beau, who both passed in the last 3 years, to let's really talk about what your last leg of your journey needs to look like for you before you can't advocate for yourself. So it's taking something that was so negative that people are so afraid to talk about. We're in the life insurance industry, we're into the income protection, and how do we bridge that without feeling like we're just coming at them with a product? Well, let me share a story with you about how impactful these things are. The life insurance made a difference for me to be able to circle back, take some time off, and take care of my son and give my daughter a beautiful burial. I didn't have to worry about how all of this was going to pan out. Thank God I had it. And then what about the journey of just being able to talk to people about their medical directives? What about the journey of being able to talk to people about really important things that we really need to be able to captivate and share with people in a way that we don't feel like we're imposing on them or just coming up and selling something? So, I guess what I'm trying to make a point of is look for the gift in every single thing that you've done, even if you consider it a failure, because failure is only failure if you forget to learn from it. Failure is success in the making. And so now we fast forward to today, and I have the MVPL. We're a wealth resource consulting group, and I'm so blessed to have Lori and Valerie and Patty on my team working with me. And we have some gentlemen that are in my group. I'm not selective to only working with women in my company, but we are a women-owned company, and we're national. We have a national base of attorneys and CPAs and agents that we're starting to attract. And I'm just really excited to move forward in the future and just see how far we can go, because I know that there's no stopping us. We don't have a lid. There's no glass ceiling we have to break through anymore. The world is ours for the taking. So every day I start out with my journaling and my positive affirmations, and I tell myself, money comes easily and frequently. My business comes easily and frequently. I come with great value, and I get paid well for what I do. And I'm not apologizing for that. And so I forgive myself for leaving myself behind for so long, and I choose to love and nurture the me that I know is amazing. And I'm spreading that love and joy with everyone I come across with. And even if you're not a part of my company, how can I help you win? Because we're all going to level up and we can all win. And I think success is much more fun when you're doing it together than alone. So that's my nutshell, John. I can't hear you.
That was a phenomenal story. I clicked the button too fast. But thank you for sharing. What an amazing story, Monica. As I was listening to, and I love to take notes when people are talking, you talked about failure is success in the making. If you could look back and speak to a earlier version of yourself, what would be the one life lesson you tell yourself to pay attention to?
The biggest thing is, we talk about that looking glass self.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So I wished I would have learned to look at myself through my own lens a lot sooner, but I'm not beating myself up for that, because my lens is amazing.
Yeah.
but don't allow other people to define your worth or who you are or what you want. And don't apologize for wanting good things for you. I want the boat, I want the airplane, and I would never admit that before. I want the lifestyle of being able to choose. And so I think the looking glass self is really the biggest thing.
Yeah, I love the quote that you shared from the book Relentless. People will judge you no matter what, so let them judge you for what you've accomplished. How
Yes,
often do
sir.
we let other people define who we are and what we can do, and not believing in the incredible gifts that we've been given that we can use to change the world? I love the story where you talked about, and let me flip over because I got 2 pages of notes on you, bringing forward the gifts you received from life's experience. And even through the tragedies that you went through, you found those golden nuggets that were there. And I thought that was so, so powerful. Another thing you said I thought was really, really good was the power of personal forgiveness. And it was really, I think for you, would you say that it was when you forgave yourself that you really saw all of a sudden you were able to take some blinders off and be able to move forward? Was that really a defining moment for you?
It really was, because there was forgiveness along the way. In the last 20 years, I've been working on that forgiveness, but I don't think the true forgiveness, the complete release of all of it, happened until that one little sentence popped into my mind. I went, no kidding. Are you kidding me? It's that easy, And so, I'm sorry, I lost it for a second there. What's the point you wanted me to make there?
We were talking about dealing with learning from and bringing those
yeah.
gifts out.
Yeah. So, every time I started moving forward with a gift, something else would come into my life that made me draw back on another one of those gifts. And so I started realizing that I had so many foundational good things to share, but I really needed to learn how to say, I love me every step of the way, and my failures do not define me. They're just things that happened in my life.
And that's a valid point. All too often, we see ourselves, and I'm going to share, this has been a common thing today, so I'm going to share with everybody a link to my podcast on my friend's failure. So it's there on Anchor. I hope you'll take an opportunity to hear that, because it speaks to what both Katherine and Monica have done today. But when we think about failure and the fact that we can learn from that, there are some very powerful lessons in that you spoke about, and that Katherine spoke about, and that we've all experienced. But we are not failures. But if we see ourselves as a failure, what have we done? We've put a lid on our ability to grow and to see success. Failure is something that happens to us. I love what you said there. It's something that happens to us. It's an event, but we don't have to let it define us. I think that is so, so powerful in living an empowered, overcoming life. Hey, in the chat box, would y'all give it up for Monica and let her know that you all appreciate her just being very transparent today and just really sharing from her heart. Just an amazing story. If you want to turn on your camera and give her a clap, that's fine and good too. Absolutely.
I have another quote too that I wanted to share. Thank you, everyone. I have another quote too that I want to share. There was something, remember, let's go back to Mary being this beautiful, loving person. And one of the things that I learned along the way, I was able to go through the Stephen Covey series of trainings back in the 90s, 3 different years in a row. And one of his quotes I live by, and I love this, and this will be my sign-off quote for everyone, is, there's a lot of judgment that people have that haven't been through some of our journeys, and we can't allow that we can't internalize what that journey is. We have to be our own light in the darkness sometimes. But remember, once you've moved beyond that, we don't want to shame others for going there. We want to be empathetic, but not enabling, right? So
that's right.
So the quote that I love to live by is, you don't have to blow out somebody else's candle to make your light shine bright.
That's a great statement.
that is what I live by.
That is a great statement. You know,
So thank you.
one of the last things you said, Monica, was you have to own your story.
Yeah.
And I know when I'm doing either individual coaching or group coaching, that's so powerful. Until you own your story and are willing to admit, and I told somebody the other day, we were talking about some areas in their life I was challenged to make some changes on. And they asked me why. And I said, well, if you keep appearing every time there's a car wreck and you're there every time there's a car wreck, it could be you're the reason the car wreck is happening. and that individual got real quiet because she was making some decisions in a regular basis on her life that was causing her to experience these emotional and life-changing car wrecks that kept derailing, to go back and use one of Catherine's terms, derailing her opportunity to see success. And as a result of that, she had to realize that she had to own her story. And when she finally had to say, yeah, the buck stops here, I made that choice and I've got to own the consequence of that choice. It's only when you do that that you can start changing your choices. And that made a big difference in your life, didn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Failure is not fatal.
That's right. As long as we learn from it.
That's right.
As long as we learn from it. Absolutely. Well, ladies, I want to thank all of you for being with us today. I again want to say thank you to Katherine. I want to say thank you to Monica for being a part of day one. Now, day two tomorrow, we've got another two incredible speakers. I am so looking forward to hearing Megan Johnson-Zuccaro. I've had an opportunity to spend some time on the phone with her. In fact, Monica introduced me to her, and I'm so looking forward to her story tomorrow, because this is a girl that's been there, done that, all of a sudden found her life derailed in an amazing way that just never saw it coming, but has had an opportunity to bounce back and see some amazing success. And then in the second hour, we're going to talk about some marketing strategies, whether you're being able today to get in front of a live audience, or you're still having to do your business through Zoom or the telephone or some other means, how you can have an opportunity to see success in leveraging the power of education to be able to drive individuals to make informed decisions and see you as an authority figure and an expert. And we're going to be talking about that in hour two tomorrow. So we've got two amazing speakers that I want to encourage you to be sure and tune in for. Now, if you know another female financial professional that hasn't joined this summit, share the link with them. This is free. This is our give back to you as women who are making a difference, giving you an opportunity to be a woman making history. You've heard from two powerful women today telling the story of how they have come through the struggles of their own life to see amazing success. And you can do that too. You've just got to believe in yourself, find your passion, and pursue it with everything you've got. Surround yourself with a team of individuals like Monica has and like Katherine has that can be there to encourage you, to support you, to give you the kick in the butt when you need it, to get you going, and to hold you accountable. But at the end of the day, you've got to believe in yourself and believe in your calling. We believe in you, and you probably know of another woman, maybe two, you've thought about today that I wish they were here and they could have heard that. Well, good news, we've recorded today's session. It'll be available for the next 48 hours for you to be able to hear and share with others. But if you know another female advisor that wants to join and be a part of this, send them the invitation link and ask them to join and be a part of what we're doing. And look forward to having you tomorrow. I shared a link on who we are at Vision Advisors. Again, not going to be a big push on who we are and what we do, but if you want to learn more about who we are as an organization, visionadvisorsinc.com. You can check us out there. Hey, on behalf of all of us here at Vision, thanks for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be productive, be successful, and we'll see you back here tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central for day two of the Women's Empowerment Summit. Have a great day.